Hi everybody, this is Mike welcoming you to the Sonex 413 channel. Today's video is both an introduction and a wrap-up to our multi-part video build-along series in which we build a capacitor-powered free-flight airplane from scratch using real inexpensive, in other words, recycled type materials, really inexpensive running gear, and just simple household kind of hobby tools. Now, whether you're just thinking about building this or whether you're one of the guys who has already got parts going together, there are actually a few that I've been communicating back and forth with, and there are, I know, a few guys actually building these units out in the field right now. Now, whether you're one of the guys that's already into the process of building or whether you're just thinking about building one, you're going to want to watch this whole video because the rest of the entire video series has been up and posted for several days, and there are a couple of very important changes that you should be aware of in the build process. If you're a new builder building from scratch, write these things down and put them on a little note on the wall near your workbench so you keep them in mind as the build progresses. Don't worry, it's not too tough. There's just two items on the checklist that differ from what I tell you in the actual build video, but they're both pretty important. The good news that counterbalances that is that I've had a chance to get out there and do some low voltage test flying with the production model here, and the performance is out of this world. Guys, it's unbelievable, and I'm not exaggerating. By far the best performing capacitor free flight plane that I've put together yet, and if you've seen some of the videos, you know I've got a fleet that performs pretty well, but this one puts them all to shame. In fact, I've only had one short low voltage test flight session with it. I put up 4 flights, and stick around because you'll see those. I got them on video, and they'll be at the end of this little video. I worked my way up from just a powered test glide up to about a half charge, which on these units 2.6 volts. That's about half the capacity because they go up to about 2.8, 2.85, and that's where the real horsepower is. So I was expecting to see maybe a 20-second flight or something. Well, it showed me 56 seconds. That's right, 4 seconds shy of a full minute on 2.6 volts. So I can only imagine that the full performance with a full charge, it's going to be north of a minute and a half, I would say. And if you do a halfway decent job of building this thing, I guarantee you over a minute. It flies so well, it's unbelievable. Well, I'm just blabbing on, so let me get down to the 2 important changes in the build sequence. First one is has to do with this little component here, and what we call this in the build is the switch plate. What it is a little wooden plate that we've made out of balsa wood to mount that tiny slide switch on, and then the wooden plate can be glued into the somewhat tender styrofoam body piece here, and it gives some strength to the switch installation so that you don't rip out the switch when you activate it. Well, you can see on this one here I've had to actually cut away some of that wooden switch plate to clear the capacitor. Now the capacitor location varies from model to model because it's the component that you shift back and forth to achieve the final balance. So I got away with it in this case here by cutting away part of that switch plate, but you can see I cut right up to the switch, and it allowed me to mount the cap in the right spot. What you should do to avoid a close call like that is when you're making that switch plate, make it as small a dimension as you can while still preserving what it does. And then when you mount it into the fuselage, mount it as high up as you can, right up against that part that we call the root rib. And you'll see us installing it where you see it here in the actual video. But make that a little smaller in the up and down dimension, and mount it as high as you can. That'll give you plenty of room no matter where that capacitor wants to end up in your build, and you won't end up with this conflict here of having two parts try to be in the same place at once. Okay, so that's one problem. And then the other one, it has to do with what you would call engine thrust angle. And what that is you can see that motor is off at an angle to the axis of the airplane, and that is explained in the build video to be there to compensate for the torque of that motor, which is trying to pull you to the left in this case. Now, when we did the build video, I'd specified too big of an angle here, and let me show you how we did it in the actual video. In the build video, I drew these red lines on the building board, and then we aligned the aircraft with one of those lines. And let me let the little stick stand in for the airplane. We put that on the first line so we know it's nice and straight, and then the motor would go in, and the way the video shows it is the motor going in on that other red line, and that's how we achieved that angle. And it turns out through flight testing that that's excessive. So go ahead, follow the video along and draw that diagram. Follow along with me on the video and draw that diagram, but then draw this other line right in between here, the green line, which actually cuts that angle in half, gives you half of that side thrust, and glue the motor in to that angle, rather than what I tell you in the build video. I had originally built this one to the greater angle, and it was just too much side thrust. This way it worked out perfect. With a little bit of left rudder on the trim tab and that amount of right thrust, it both climbed and glided to the left in a perfect, like about a 40-foot diameter circle. And other than the wind drift taking it down the field, it flew perfect circle pattern the whole flight. So build to this new angle. Okay, cut the side thrust in half. Now there's also another angle when you build the motor. It's this upwards thrust, and that is absolutely correct as specified in the build video. So don't change that angle. Just how much it's pointed to the side. Cut that one in half. And that's it. As far as description of the materials, tools, equipment, all that stuff, that's in episode 1 of the actual build video. Also in the text description to part 1 is a link to the different, where you can get the different equipment, the motor, the capacitor, the switches and everything. There's links to the suppliers there down in the text description to build video part 1. So I urge you to have a look at that, and if you're going to build it, good luck, have a lot of fun. And now, without further ado, let's take a look at the test flights that this one put in the other night right before sunset. See you next video, guys. Bye. Minefield for a quick sunset test flight. Here's our Buildalong project airplane. We're going to try it out. I took a couple degrees of that right thrust out of it because the initial testing showed it was too much on this plane. Anyway, I don't know about yours. Here's a super low volt first reflight, 1.65 volts. Oh, right back to us. Excellent. I'll put a little more in it. We'll try it again. Okay, another super low powered one. This is, let's see, 2.1 volt. That last one looked pretty good. Nice little circle to the left. That looks excellent. And it's down. Super flight there for 2.1 volts. That is unbelievable. I'm going to put just a little more. We'll try one more. Alright, here we go. 2.35 volts. Oh, outstanding climb. We got a little breeze going here, so it's fighting it. Yeah, perfect left-hand circles all the way down, and a little bit of drift, not too bad. I'm going to go up just one little bit more. Tempt fate. Here we go. Okay, gang, we got some onlookers wishing us good luck here. This is 2.6, yeah, 2.6 volts.
Whoa!
Hope you guys can see it on the video.
We'll run over the whole field if you want.
That's what I need, a chaser.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow, outstanding duration.
Yeah,
Still circling to the left the whole time. That's just what we want. Nice little 35, 40 foot circles down the end of the field there. Looks like it's going to make it down in the field. Watching, watching, watching. Ready with the stopwatch, and down right there.
pick it up, Matty.
Yeah.
Very carefully. Bring it back.
He's got it. Excellent flight. We'll check the duration when we look at the tape later. Good flight though.